better place for everyone. Once you have been registered as a coach, log in. Click on Coaching Focus and enter the details such as type of coaching, active coaching program details. Share your coaching focus area with us. You can provide details such as language, level, different areas, and topics. Sync your calendar to ensure coaching sessions are scheduled conveniently. We'll match you with the coaches aligned with your expertise and focus area. Once matched with the coachee, you may review their career goals, enablers, and potential derailers. Coaches will schedule the session based on your and their availability. You can chat with your coachee. Track the progress of the coaching session and view the details of the upcoming coaching sessions. Complete a feedback form to share your experience with the coaches. Based on the feedback, the IDP will be generated, which will also include suggested assessments for the coaches. Download the Individual Development Plan Report of Coachee. Be part of learning circles of coaches who can share best practices and offer support. WeAce, we empower coaches to empower others. At WeAce, we help people to be their best version of themselves through coaching and learning solutions. WeAce, made for more. We have 150+ clients across India, Middle East, Africa, and UK. Our pool of over 1,000 certified top business coaches, located in 5 continents, supporting our clients in over 80 languages, and is growing every day. Our business coaches are certified by the world's leading coaching organizations like ICF, Ericsson Coaching International. We have coaches with knowledge and experience to make a difference and are highly respected people leaders. All of our coaches are selected according to a comprehensive, 4-stage selection process and are continually monitored in their coaching practice through session ratings and supervision. What's in it for you, as a coach? Well, first of all, you will help maximize performance by helping a client reach their peak potential, and with your help they will work on developing leadership, creating self-discipline, building a self-belief system, creating motivation, and improving self-awareness. Secondly, you will be an integral part of their well-being in personal and professional life. And lastly, you will be also a part of global community of coaches and mentors, along with access to exclusive coaching to help your professional development. We welcome you to share your wisdom and experience to making the ecosystem a better place for everyone. Once you have been registered as a coach, log in. Click on Coaching Focus and enter the details such as
Check. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I please have your attention? And if I could request all the other ones who are enjoying tea and coffee and many goodies to also please join us here now in the room. We are ready to start. So, okay, once again, thank you very, very, very much to being here today. And it's absolutely a pleasure for me to be amongst all of you and to welcome you to this absolutely exciting and going to be a very fun evening of Spark. I have been associated now with WeAce for, well, more than 4 years, probably a little less longer than what Anu has been. And I'm just so excited that I've had this long association. For me, it's been a long journey of 26 years of the corporate career as a banker, which is where Anu and I met. and I am very glad that I gave that up about 3.5 years ago, nearly four now. And now onto this journey of being a coach, mentor, trainer, and working with great organizations like WeAce to promote leadership, exclusivity of women leaders, and to take forward this journey as much as I can. So today, as we move ahead, we will go through some very, very exciting and interesting discussions. And I know it is a Thursday evening, and the Delhi weather and the NCR weather is very welcoming. You can see the overcast skies. So hopefully, we'll have blessings of the Ganpati also as we move ahead in the evening. But please do enjoy, have a great time. And for me, it's really about ensuring that we are committed as a team to promoting leadership excellence. So let's start by thanking our partners who have made this event possible. And number one, presenting our partner IBM. Thank you, IBM, always for your support. Our sponsoring partner is Flipkart. We could absolutely do with a big round of applause. Thank you, Flipkart. Our silver partner is HDFC Sky. We are, of course, powered by DBS. One more round of applause, please. Thank you. We are co powered by 361. And of course, once again, a huge, huge thank you to all our partners. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome on stage my dear friend and the co founder and CEO of WeAce. WeAce engaged in the mission of making workplaces more productive, progressive, and gender balanced, working across industries across over 4 years, and will be now opening the doors to inclusion more and more as we go ahead. Anuranjita Kumar, a driving force behind workplace transformation, will guide us through the lens of business inclusion, highlighting its profound connection to innovation and impact. So please, all of you, I hope you're absolutely ready to be inspired. Thank you, Anu. Over to you.
Thank you, Serena, and a hearty, warm welcome to all of you. This is our fourth edition, second edition in person. I think for me, this is a gathering of lots of friends, lots of people that I have learned from. So, this is a room full of warmth and inspiration for me. 4 years back, I decided to embark on an entrepreneurial venture. Honestly, I had no idea what it held in store, and that's probably the reason why I was fearless. Had I known amount of hard work and all the ups and downs along the way, maybe I would have thought about it again. But looking back at the last 4 years, it's been a fantastic journey. Thanks to all the support that we've got in the ecosystem with partners and different companies. And I think for me personally, it's been an evolution, learning. I think the first platform that we launched, as most of you know, it was very, very women oriented, in fact specifically women in tech. In the fourth year, where we've come a long way, of course DI remains a very important part of what we do, but we've moved to a much more product centric approach. The reason we did it is because as we evolved, the demands that came to us from a talent development perspective also started changing. In fact, I came to India just a few days back, and one of the headlines which caught my attention was placements in IIT Bombay, only 75% of the class placed at a X amount of compensation. And just drilling on that further, in India, as practitioners, we've always had a debate about what is education and what is employability. And I think that debates in some way continues. When we talk to the practitioners, the single most largest problem or second largest problem in their list of things for any leader apart from capital is talent. So it seems a little, there seems to be a bit of dichotomy. So at one level, we have a lot of talent, which is not fully employable. On the other hand, the companies continue to struggle the right talent. So as we started dwelling on this place beyond women, one of the things which emerged for us was coaching and mentoring. And it takes me back to when I was making my career choices. I would search on, Google equivalent of my times, manually or otherwise, figure out textbooks. But the most important element to take a career decision was the person I spoke to, which was usually a trusted advisor or a friend or an expert. So, in some way, we put an arrowhead on that and we started to grow the platform. And today, I'm really humbled in many ways to tell you that we've reached a place where we work across now 14 countries. We have 3 offices across India, which is Gurgaon, Dubai, and London. And none of this would be possible without me acknowledging a few people in this room. First one being Manas, I think taking a bet from Nagaro. On a lighter note, Manas and I were talking. I had burnt a lot of cash doing the wrong tech, and I reached out to him and saying, "Look, I need to create this. This is my vision." And he very humbly, supported us through the journey over the last 2, 3 years till we became self-sufficient in many ways. The second person I'd certainly like to thank, I don't know if he's in the room, is Navneet. I don't know if he's here, but he must be in the corridor, so somebody can please get him in. The reason I brought Navneet's name was because he was the first person I reached out to when I was ideating and I was talking about whether I should do it, not do it. And he said, "Why shouldn't you do it? What's the worst that can happen?" I said, "What if it doesn't work?" He said, "Then we'll find you another job." So having a bit of an insurance policy from somebody like him obviously motivated me to go ahead. And lastly, I want to thank each one of you for believing in us, trusting in us, and which not only keeps us inspired, but keeps us on the path. I feel every day like a management trainee, a 21-year-old who's starting her career all over again, because every year I've actually done something different. But I'm going to just spend 2 minutes to give you a glimpse of what we do. And I'd love to, put some thoughts here and maybe talk about dinner or lunch or dinner or cocktails, as the case may be. So, this is our platform, and many of you, some of you might have seen it, but not all of you. It's an app, and you can log in on the web. If you log in, just go on to the next slide. Just skip this one. Yeah, if you log in, yeah, sorry. Oh, okay. Ye wala? If you log in, sorry, which one is left or right, if you can tell me? The green. This one? This one? Yeah. Okay. So if you log in and I'm pressing the green button, for whatever reason, it's not working. So, oh, it has happened. Oh, it takes time, it's buffering. So you simply put in what you want to do. And once you put in, it's a bit like Tinder for coaches and mentors, if I may say. It matches you through an AI algo. It pops up 3 people who are best suited for your need. You choose one, you fix a time, it fixes a session. You can take your notes. You can chat. We try to combine WhatsApp here as well because we find that our clients were very distracted with WhatsApp, which is certainly a very good connection tool. You see your dashboard. You see your plans and how you're progressing. If you're a coach, you probably see your dashboard like this. And if you are a practitioner, you see a dashboard like this. How many people have done what they've done? So this is just a sneak preview. Actually didn't want to bore you with too many slides because there's an app you can download. But for me, I think as I express my gratitude for all the support that we've got, I hope we continue to get feedback in what we need to do more to support you and create something out of this country where we can contend with some of the global players in this space. So thank you again. With that, I hand it back to Serena and look forward to interacting with you through the evening.
Thank you, Anu. As always, I get very excited and inspired, hearing you talk about the future, talk about what the plans are. And as I said, I personally have been associated with WeAce and absolutely enjoy the coaching and mentoring a lot. A super platform just makes things so much easier. And so we can focus on all the good discussions and the conversations that need to be had. So thank you, Anu, once again for giving us a lot of good things to look forward to. As we move on, I would like to really get you very excited about this next part of our evening today, where we continue to explore some dynamic themes of leadership, especially in today's fast-paced world. And now we turn to an insightful session that delves into the highs and lows that define a leader's journey. We've all been through it. And to guide us through this conversation, we are honored to have a very distinguished anchor with us who brings vast experience and a very, very deep understanding of leadership dynamics. Please join me in welcoming Nishchay Suri, Managing Director at Cornerstone On Demand. And with a wealth of knowledge in leadership and organizational development, Nishchay will lead a very, very compelling discussion on what it truly means to be a leader in today's complex environment. So, from the VUCA world, we are now in a Bani world. That's the new term post COVID. I get very lost in all these acronyms, but I could share Bani is brittle, anxious, non linear, and iterative. I think that's the Bani from the VUCA to a Bani world. And thank you, Nishchay. Joining Nishchay today for this very hard talk are two remarkable leaders who have carved out exceptional careers and navigated through the myriad challenges of leadership. Our first speaker is Mr. Tushar Vikram, the CEO and country head of India at Mashrek. Tushar is a visionary leader who has driven significant growth and innovation within his organization, and he will share his insights into the peaks and valleys that have shaped his leadership journey. Please, may I welcome Tushar on the stage. And next, of course, we are privileged to have with us Manas Fuloria. Anu mentioned Manas, and I've, of course, again known Manas for many years. So good to have you, Manas. Manas is the co founder of Nagaro, and again, an exemplary leader who has successfully scaled Nagaro into a global digital product engineering leader. His journey is one of resilience, innovation, and the constant pursuit of excellence. We look forward to his reflections on the challenges and triumphs that have marked his path. So, without further ado, Nishchay, over to you to lead this exciting discussion.
Well, thank you very much. Is the audio on? Is the audio on? Yeah, good. Thank you very much for this very warm welcome. Welcome, Manas and Tushar. To get this discussion going, I thought I'd share three very compelling statistics with you. To begin with, there are 3.5 billion searches on leadership that are processed every day on Google. So that's got you excited. Probably you're amongst the billions of people that are searching this term on the web. Equally so, 50% of corporate professionals aspire to become a CEO one day. So you're obviously in coveted company here. And last but not the least, the average tenure of a CEO is actually 3.4 years in India, which is substantially lower than the global average. So with that, let's begin with a rapid fire round. Inspired by Karan Johar here. And I was told that you've only watched one, possibly one odd series of Karan, but nonetheless. So, and it is a rapid fire round, so I'd appreciate very quick and prompt responses. Let me start with you, Manas. First, we'll finish your rapid fire and then we'll go to Tushar. So, who would you choose as your successor? Dhoni, Virat, or Rohit Sharma?
Dhoni, perhaps.
Dhoni. Rank the top three leadership qualities from these five: vision, empathy, resilience, adaptability, integrity.
Integrity.
Top three.
Oh, sorry, just can you go over that again?
Rank the top three leadership qualities from these: vision, empathy, resilience, adaptability, integrity.
Vision, integrity, resilience.
Leaders, born or made?
Made, definitely made.
If you could implement only one company-wide HR policy overnight, what would it be?
Flat organization.
Flat organization. What's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever received?
That's a difficult one. Best leadership advice. Actually, so much. Can I skip that?
Skip. Okay. Let's go to Tushar. Tushar, by the way, these questions weren't shared in advance. If you're wondering if they were shared in advance, they weren't. Tushar, if you had to pick a book that shaped your leadership style, which one would it be?
I would say emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. One habit that the most has had the most positive impact on your productivity.
Planning and scheduling activities.
If your leadership style was a sport, which one would it be?
Football.
If you could have dinner with any historical leader, who would it be?
Well, there's so many, but I would say Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. What's the one skill that future CEOs must develop to thrive in the next decade?
I would say resilience.
Resilience. Okay, we're warmed up. Let's get started with our panel discussion, gentlemen. Um, First question to Tushar. Now, what is your definition of success to begin with, and what has shaped your success?
Well, success means different things for different people. And for me, I think getting the right culture in an organization would be the biggest success, because in this world where we are all looking for a people-centric organization, I think culture is the most critical aspect. And when we look at the new generation and the millennials, I think the top priority which they give is to the culture of the organization. And Gartner just did a survey where 60% of the people are willing to take a pay cut to get the right culture. And what I would also say, apart from the people perspective, if you have the right culture, then it helps employees to innovate, move ahead, achieve objectives, both personal and professional. And it also gives the confidence in the management to take some tough decisions if required. So what I would say is the cultural aspect of an organization is most critical aspect which I would see from a leadership.
Now, given that, I mean, there are 5 generations at play in the workforce today, what's the right way of shaping that culture or evolving it over a period of time? Is it that you set a specific culture and aspire to it, or do you just let it evolve over a period of time, depending on who you hire and have in the organization?
I think it's now a too important activity to just let it evolve. I think it is incumbent for people to sort of define the culture and spend time on it. And also, not only the CEO, but also the whole management team, I think, has to focus on developing and evolving the culture. And it has many facets and aspects of it. And in terms of communication, training, having a more inclusive environment. So what I would say is that it's too important, and I think the whole management team has to spend a lot of time on developing and evolving the culture.
Interestingly, I mean, I haven't. Is there a specific position in organizations that you've come across that is the chief cultural architect? Have you still to be, I guess, christened? But interesting thought, given the importance of culture.
That's actually me. I think in our organization, CEO translates to custodian of entrepreneurship in the organization. And entrepreneurship is very much part of our culture. So I think in my role, that is number one, as Tushar said, the number one priority. And you try to define where you want to be. It has to be a little bit realistic, a little bit aspirational. And then you have to communicate it often enough and live it to the extent, till the time that people all start to believe that it is actually true. So it's a fantastic
Let me follow
journey.
that response with another question to you, Manas. So, are there differences between a founder CEO, which you are and have always been, versus a CEO who's more professional and hired into the organization?
Yeah, I think there is, there can be, and often in the valley, in the Silicon Valley, you have founders being moved aside so that the professional CEOs can come in, and there's a bit of a backlash against that. In fact, there was an article by Paul Graham of Y Combinator recently, where he spoke about the founder mode, and I thought it was just an article. It didn't seem very fancy, but it was in the Wall Street Journal yesterday or something. So basically, I think the difference is that the founder has a, a history with the company. They have been there longer than anybody else, right? So they know everybody. And presumably they started very small. So they know the very heart of what makes the company tick, right? So they have this credibility. They have this, they know everybody from the person who serves tea to the person who, whatever, they know everyone, right? So they don't think of the organization in boxes in an org chart, right? So they, like the NVIDIA guy, I think has like 25, 30 direct reports, right? So in our company, we don't even have an org chart at the senior level. We are 100 people with no org chart at the top level, right? So I think that you can pull that off as a founder, but when I look forward to maybe when I retire, I don't think that's going to be possible. So you will need a more structured organization. So yeah, I think there is a difference, and I think it works both ways. I think it has some benefits. It also has, I think, some drawbacks. Yeah?
What's the downside? That I was coming to that.
The downside is that it's a bit chaotic, right? Because it's a little bit many to many, and you know, and you hear about this when you talk of, let's say, Oracle with Larry Ellison or something. It can become very arbitrary. It can become very yeah. It may not make sense for a lot of people, but if it's done right, I think it has certain advantages.
Great. Tushar, now there are many traits that make a leader. In many ways, we're looking for a Superman or a Superwoman. But what's the one leadership trait that you value the most, and why?
Well, what I would say is that communication and openness is something which is very important and which I value, because linking it to more my first point, having a culture which is open and as well as transparent helps a lot. And as a leader, you have to communicate a lot of things, uh, and you have to get it right, whether it is the vision of the company, the strategy, and whatever it is. So I think communication is probably one of the most, in today's day and age, the most important activity of a leader.
And how has communication changed, per se, for you post the pandemic? Has the tonality, the quality of communication, the frequency, the medium, how's that undergone a change?
Well, it's gone a significant change, because now with so many electronic mediums and Zoom calls, Team calls, and others, you can reach out to a lot of people directly, and communicate a lot directly using these mediums. So I think it has become more direct and personal, and that's what the people expect, that they want to hear the leader and feel the leader, maybe even in a virtual form more often. And that's the expectation. So clearly, the days of sending emails and having one town hall are gone. People want to hear more what's happening. They want to hear the information more. Successes, they want to hear a lot. So all the points, I think currently people are very hungry for information, and they expect the leadership to provide that communication on a online basis from that perspective.
And ongoing as well, in terms of what's changing in the organization, real time.
Absolutely.
Now, it gave me a cue in terms of the kind of leader you prefer, given when I asked you Rohit Dhoni and Rohit Sharma. What brand of leadership do you subscribe to, Manas, and why? If there is a brand of leadership you subscribe to.
Actually, that question made me think, because I really admire Dhoni style, but maybe when you said successor, maybe it should be alternated with a Kohli style or some other style, right? So that question really made me think. I'm not very quick on my feet with these rapid fire questions, but the style of leadership, I think you hear this phrase servant leadership, and I don't know technically what it means, but for me. I grew up reading a bit of Gandhi, and my sisters were applying to Wardha, the medical college, and they had to have there was a paper on Gandhi, and I had to help them by preparing a short summary of Gandhi's lives and teachings. And so I happened to read a few of his books. So I think that he has a few aspects of this, right? So he has a vision, what you want to achieve, right? The moral standing that people can align to that vision. You need that moral standing, I think, ideally. And then, it's not about him. It's about everybody else, right? And to the extent eventually it became all about him. But I just mean that it's, I think if you can pull these three things off, I mean, that's the kind of leader I would aspire to be. And I think Dhoni is a bit like that, right? I mean, uh, he has a vision, he has a moral standing, and he has, it's all about the individual. He lets them be who they are, and he's standing behind it, behind them and backing them and uh, just being there for them, right, when they need him. And you can see that bond between Dhoni and Kohli, for example, right? I mean, Kohli really, really respects Dhoni, and I think it's for letting him be. I don't think it's because he coached him or I think it's just let him be. So I think that's the kind of leadership I at least find easier. But there are many different styles, and I think there's no right style. In fact, if you have one style, you should be very aware that there are things that you are missing, which you need people with you who cover the other styles that are required.
Very interesting. I was in Udaipur a couple of days ago hosting the top 100 CHROs in the country, and they had invited Akash Chopra. And Akash Chopra was obviously sharing some very interesting stories about Dhoni. So the few things that he shared about Dhoni and his style of leadership. For one, he was not obsessed with the data. He would look at the data, but he would still take his own judgment. The data would say, don't bowl XYZ bowler in the 14th over. He would do exactly that. The second thing about Dhoni, which was very interesting, was he valued experience over youth. He's one of those players who always stood by the experience in the dressing room, and he continued to back them. And he did that, right, with Jadeja and others, and Raina, for example. And the third thing, he was unfazed. But when he lost his cool, everybody knew that they had kind of crossed the line with him. But thank you, good insight there on why you prefer Dhoni as a brand. Um, there was articles, Tushar, about the imperfect leader. And of course, we all have our dark side, so to say. But if there were one red hot button that brought the worst out in you, what would that be? What triggers or riles you, and why so? And then what do you become?
Yeah, so as the CEO, you're the chief problem solver, and people only come to you with problems.
Right.
So usually they come to you with only problems. So you have to be very resilient from that perspective and patient. So generally, you don't get very this thing on that. Otherwise, there are a lot of incidences which could. But what I would say is that a thing which personally, which is this, is the siloed approach, is where people look at their narrow kind of what their department or function has to do, rather than look at the whole organization as a whole, what is best in the interest of an organization. So that is a thing which is something which I always encourage in the team to look at the larger picture. And sometimes our goals are also designed in such a way that it makes them more individualistic. So
So
trying to
let's say
change.
you had a person who you saw behaving in a particular way, which is extremely siloed. Does that irk you, and do you respond differently to who you are as a person in terms of your own dark side becomes more visible?
Well, I won't say dark side becomes visible, but yeah, so I would sort of try and correct him in terms of give him the larger picture from that perspective, that that would be better. And, from a team's perspective, I always say that you should have 80% competition and 20% cooperation.
Now, the spiritual masters, and they say that you shouldn't share your vulnerabilities publicly. And there's obviously a divided school of thought as far as making known your weaknesses because you're a vulnerable leader, and then you're more realistic versus trying to appear perfect and good all the time. What's your view on that? Do you make known your vulnerabilities? Do you garner support around that?
So I think it's an interesting question because on one hand, the people that who are looking up to you as a leader, they need to see confidence, they need to see competence, they need to see vision. So I think you want to project that. But at the same time, I think showing vulnerability allows people to relate to you and makes your conversation more meaningful. You're not talking jargon, you're not talking positioning, you're talking more realistically. So, I think that I at least subscribe to the vulnerability, exposing vulnerability view. For example, I'm a terrible negotiator. So everybody in the company knows that if something has to be negotiated, you don't go to Manas, right? He's terrible, right? Or I even say that I'm not very disciplined. Uh, and because I'm just not like a great execution guy. So there's that, or I'm rather introverted. I mean, it's only now in the last few years I can sit in a panel like this and not be, sweating bullets, right? But it's also other things, right? Mental health, for example, right? I have, I just went and put this on LinkedIn that I'm slightly bipolar, right? So what that means is that for a session like this, I have to try to psych myself before I come to see whether to get me into the more manic part, because that's more fun than the more depressive part, right? So it's not too bad, but it's there. So I think that if we are able to talk about all of this, right? But at the same time, project competence, right? And say people should know that you are able to get into the meat of whatever it is that we are doing, to really analyze a problem, solve problems, as Tushar said, which is the key part of what a CEO does. They should know that you are competent, that they can have faith in you. So I think it's a tricky balance, uh, but I think exposing vulnerability leads to better relationships in the organization, I think. And again, maybe the founder role is a bit different, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
it
That's what I
makes
was
it much
actually
easier.
getting to. That will it be career limiting move for a CEO to make known on day one that this is what I'm not good at, and you get assigned a coach probably from WeAce. But that it's a tricky balance to and a thin rope to tread. But thank you for sharing that perspective, Manas. Now, often enough, the triangulation between the CEO, CFO, CHRO has been an interesting one. But let's just focus on, keep the CMO out for the time being, and focus on CEOs and CHROs and their relationships. What's the best way to kind of build that relationship between a CEO and a CHRO? And if there were a difficult CEO, if there were one, I'm sure they are, what's your best advice in managing difficult CEOs?
Well, for an organization, like you said, both the CEO and CHRO play a very critical role, especially in terms of, setting the culture and the tone of the organization. So the CEO generally sets the strategy, and the CHRO helps allow the management team to execute that strategy, especially related to the people, culture, and motivation. So from that perspective, I think both are very, very critical partners in this journey. And I think the way to work is have a very, very open communication and dialogue and the expectations from each other. Now, from your perspective of, a difficult CEO, yeah. So I think for a CHRO, one should first understand why is a difficult CEO, what makes him a difficult CEO, and then what are his expectations from the CHRO, and then have again an open dialogue and boundaries that if this is your expectation, this is what we should do, this is what we should not do. And I think a CHRO plays a very important role in keeping the CEO honest in terms of giving him very objective advice in terms of what is possible, what is not possible. But I would say setting the boundaries, having an open conversation, and setting the expectations of each other helps managing in a difficult situation.
You know, there's an interesting statistic, Mars, that when CEOs were asked on the role of their CHRO and how many kind of qualified as strategic, 60% qualified. Uh, I'm curious to know from you, what doesn't fit the mold today in terms of this unique balance or delicate balance that needs to be achieved, right? A few years ago, the CEO is also called the Chief Engagement Officer. I was wondering what the CHRO was then responsible for. So now you've taken on the cultural custodian role as well. So kind of trading happening between these two roles and which one steps in where? What's been your experience?
So in general, we avoid chief designations. So the only chief we officer, which the investors forced on us. But apart from that, everybody else is just playing different roles. We are a fairly flat organization, and the person who plays that role for India is a dear friend, and obviously we bring different perspectives to each topic. I think she's incredible in terms of knowing what will fly, what will the response be, how will people react, and then we just have a nice, easy working relationship. And actually, all across the world, we have HR leaders in different regions. We are in about 35 countries as a company.
Give me one area you often disagree on. I mean, I want to make this a little more provocative.
No, so I think that it's very often, right? So, sometimes you have to juggle some financial stuff and you think this way. You wake up in the morning and you have some idea saying, hey, let's roll out this policy so that it'll save us some, we'll spend less, and so I think it's usually around money, right? I mean, the rest of the stuff is all easy to align on. But I think that we are very much aligned, I think, on culture and the kind of company we're trying to be.
Speaking of money, at least in the US, I know this statistic. CEOs get paid a multiple of 400 times as compared to a frontline worker. So you can save some money right at the top if that's where we should begin. Okay, final question.
I want to come back on that, right? So as a founder, right? Of course, and I just want to share it because I think it's important what you're trying to drive in your life and in the company, right? There are people in Nagaro who make more money than I do, and it's actually the biggest argument I have with the board is that I don't want to make more money because as per their standards, they have to do benchmark survey and they say it should be 5x.
Right.
And I'm working backwards because, so I think some of this is about what you actually are professing. You have to walk the talk, right? Because otherwise it's not a real culture.
Thank you for sharing. And that's why you are, in every way, have every right to play that cultural custodian, so-called officer, not chief. Final question. Is it lonely at the top? And does it have to be? And then I'll come to you, Tushar, as well. Same question for you.
So I think that it's a mix of two things, right? I think it's both. It's a bit ambivalent. The answer is a bit ambivalent because on one hand, it's a very people's job, right? So you have lots of friends, lots of people you're talking to, everything is being discussed. But I think there are situations where it's very lonely, and I'll just name a couple of them, right? So I think it's very lonely when you are thinking up the next big thing. And there's a part before you start to engage with people where it's just with you and you know the problem and you're struggling with it. And you don't even have the iota of the, the seed crystal around which the solution will crystallize. And I call that phase now, I've realized it, it's very painful. I call it like laying an egg, right? It's really painful. And then after a while it gets exciting and then you start to talk to people and so on. That part is quite lonely. I think the other part which is quite lonely in my personal setting is our parties. So we have these large parties in Gurgaon. It is the largest office or largest area in India. We are like 10,000 people and in the party at one event. And I must be the loneliest person in that party because you're just being passed from hand to hand, right? You're like meat, pretty much, right? So, which is all good. I understand, but you're like the 500 selfie, and so that's a bit lonely. That evening is really tough, really tough.
Swami Chinmayanand said, if you can't bear your own company, why inflict it on others? So, Tushar, your final comments, same question.
Well, I would agree with Manas that it's situational. Generally, you are surrounded with people, both internal and external stakeholders. So there's lots of discussions and others. But there are some situations where you are alone, and then you have to look for the solutions and then find that some way or the other. So I think I was in that situation 2 weeks ago where we were, like, as you know, every bank is looking for deposits and garnering for deposits. So
Right.
we've been doing that for last 2-3 months, but it wasn't moving too much. So, and we talked to the management team and they said, we are doing everything possible. What is there? So anyway, I said, let me, go and talk to some frontline guys, the RM on the branch, seeing what does he say and what does he do. So he's saying that, your account opening form is 14 pages. By the time you open an account, the other bank has opened 3 times faster. So those kind of insights you don't get unless, you develop that touch and feel. So it's up to you how you sort of solve a situation. But sometimes you do come with situations where, you are lonely, but you have to find your solution, and then the thrill and the excitement comes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Manas, Tushar, for being very candid and sharing your journeys with us. I'm not sure if we have time for questions. Perhaps not, because no.
Perhaps not, but
Perhaps not. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much.
thank you very much. I would please request you to stay on stage, and may I request Upen Upadhyay to please come and present mementos of our appreciation to our anchor and our panel here.
We could have asked a question in the interim, but nonetheless, the silence is a bit
So
awkward.
maybe one question.
Yeah, why
Any
not?
one question,
Why
please.
not? Anybody has a question? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think we'll need at least yeah, go ahead.
Uh, what will you exactly do to ensure that the next CEO that comes after you in the company is successful? Because, as you said, flat organization, as you said, people know everyone. There is this bond and this connection when people reach out to you directly, irrespective of any ladders in between. And with the new CEO, that sometimes changes.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that if you actually value culture as the most important thing, right, as Tushar was also saying, then you are basically designing all your rhythms, rituals, processes around culture. So just one example, but we have actually probably 30 or 40, okay? But I'll give you two examples, okay? One is that our annual management meet has 100 people, and it is live streamed to the entire company. Barring some couple of half an hour sessions, it's live streamed. So anybody can watch it, right? So that's one. It's now a thing that we do, right? The second thing is that, I'll give you another example. Every last Friday of the month, all the new joiners from all over the world get together on a call, and all of management is supposed to be on the call, but at least quite a few people join. And it's an hour and a half just about culture, right? Just about culture. And it's asking people, I mean, did it work for you? Did it not work for you? Are we living up to it or not? So these are the rituals that you put into place. I think you have to work very hard on that, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Super. May we please have a big round of applause? I think that was a very, very insightful and a very real conversation. Thank you. Thank you very much, Upen, and thank you all.
Thank you. This is Tushar. That is so.
So I think for me, the key highlight was the CEO being the chief problem solver.
Really, Alicia.
And I was watching a video, a leadership video, and they said that the best thing that anybody can do in senior leadership in an organization is that when people ask for solutions, don't solve the problem for them, ask them what they would do. And that's how you are empowering people to get into a more creative solution way of thinking. But also, just a big applause for Manas and his courage and the vulnerability, that he expressed and that he shared. For me, what I've seen is that courage is one of the biggest traits that take a leader very, very far. So fantastic. And now we are moving on to our next very engaging session again. And this is a very, very deep reflection on a topic that I'm sure all of you will love. So the great debate is really about one of the most pertinent topics of our time, development coaching. So what will be more effective, AI or humans? And it's a soul versus silicon kind of a theme that we are talking about here. Leading this debate is an accomplished leader with a deep commitment to diversity and inclusion, someone who has a keen understanding of the complexities of human and machine collaboration. Please join me with a very big round of applause in welcoming our anchor for the debate, Prachi Rastogi, diversity and inclusion leader for IBM APAC.
An Indian origin
Sorry. All right. And let's now get to meet our formidable voices who will argue for the motion. First, we have Pallavi Rai, the delivery partner at IBM Consulting. Pallavi is a seasoned professional who has been at the forefront of integrating AI into business processes. Her insights into the potential of AI in development coaching will certainly challenge our traditional views. Welcome, Pallavi. And joining Pallavi on the fourth side is Sudhir Singh Dungarpur, partner and CEO at Chris Capital. Welcome, Sudhir. And Sudhir, PwC, I'm so sorry. My apologies. Sudhir is a strategic leader known for leveraging technology to optimize business operations, and his perspective on AI's efficiency and data driven capabilities in coaching will challenge traditional coaching paradigms. Welcome, Sudhir. Completing the four team is Chitresh Sharma, CEO and co founder of Refine. As a leader who has successfully harnessed technology to create impactful solutions, Chitresh will argue for the transformative power of AI in the coaching domain. Please join me in welcoming Chitresh also on the stage. Where are you, Chitresh? Okay, we will just move on now to the against side while Chitresh joins us. So here we have stalwarts who will defend the irreplaceable value of human touch in development coaching. First up is Mr. P. Dwarkanath, former chairman of GSK India. With decades of leadership experience, Dwarkanath will present a compelling case for why the human element remains crucial in coaching, and I may just be supporting him a lot. Next, we have Ashley Menzies, partner at PwC. Ashley's expertise in organizational development and his belief in the human element in coaching will again present a compelling case against over reliance on AI, highlighting the nuanced judgment and emotional intelligence that human coaches bring. And rounding out the against team is Kishore Puduri, managing director and country head of HR at DBS India. Kishore's extensive experience in managing people and culture will underscore the irreplaceable role of human coaches in fostering really genuine development. So, with our distinguished speakers all here and introduced, Prachi, please may I hand over the stage to you to carry forward this very exciting debate.
Thank you very, very much. And just before we start, we have a small video. And this is a great debate, not a panel
an
discussion.
Indian origin developer from Google recently released a version of ChatGPT called Gita GPT, and it would answer like it's coming from Sri Krishna himself. My question for you is, do you think this is the end for spiritual gurus in India?
When you ask a question, Chat GPT or Gita GPT, can it choose not to answer? The guru, if real, can choose not to answer. And sometimes silence is the best answer. Nobody can teach AI or a program to do that. Also, please understand, ChatGPT will provide the same answer irrespective of who the questioner is. You type a question, it doesn't matter who you are, the answer will be the same. If the teacher or the friend, whosoever it is actually wise, he never answers the question. He answers the questioner, and that's the great difference. And
Welcome to the world of AI. The benefits of this technology are stunningly obvious. There is no path to progress where we leave technology behind. We need solutions to healthcare, education, climate crisis. And if AI delivers a fraction of its potential, then the next decade is going to be the most productive in human history. Technologists say it's our digital companion, our new partners in the journey of our lives. They even say that humanity and technology are going to be now deeply intertwined. But there are two things that every human being must know about AI. And listen to this carefully. One, AI can now take decisions. Earlier, we would make a knife or an atom bomb. We humans would decide who to kill. But now, with the autonomous weapons system, if we allow, they can decide who to kill. Number two, they can create new ideas. Earlier, a printing press would only print the ideas that we would give, but now they can invent new ideas. Listen to this. A couple of years ago, when OpenAI made ChatGPT 4 for testing purposes, they gave it a CAPTCHA puzzle to resolve. The ChatGPT 4 couldn't resolve it. Instead, it further gave it to TaskRabbit, where humans can be hired to do the work. Human got highly suspicious and said, "Are you a robot?" ChatGPT 4 said, "No, I'm not a robot. I'm a human being with visual impairment." Till a few years ago, people said that AI can never create, but now we see AI as an endless river of creativity. We see music, videos, painting, poetry that stretch the imagination. And whether we are ready or not, AI is now big time into coaching. There are over 200 AI powered coaching platforms available globally by startups and tech giants. And AI coaching platforms, HR services got approximately 1.2 billion of venture funding last year. So clearly shows the investor confidence in the sector. But my small heart still wonders if AI would be able to create a rapport with human beings. Will it really address the recurring inner critic, I am not good enough? Will it really understand that human beings change with time? We have an expert panel to demystify all of that. But before that, we have a little reel to play. Ridhima.
Part of what is happening today in so many areas is that you can think about the whole of life becoming like one long job interview. Like if you now apply to a job, something you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it suddenly pops up there and defines who you are today. You told a racist joke 10 years ago. You yelled at somebody 15 years ago. It pops up, hey, that's who you are. We know who you are. You're not going to getting this job. And no, I mean, the more data we accumulate on people, the more the more powerful all these AI tools are, the more important it is to bake into the system the value of change, that people can change. Otherwise, again, like you are 20 years old, you go to some party, you have to think, this can meet me down the road in 20 years when I want to be, I don't know, Supreme Court Justice. Part of
Thank you. And this is a great debate, as I was saying. So feel free to stand up on your chairs and ask questions. And we'll start with Mr. Dwarkanath. So what are the limitations of AI in understanding human emotions and nuances?
First, let me tell you, are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Maybe you just hold the mic close.
Good evening to everyone. I think I'm the wrong person to participate in this debate. I tell you the reason being, most aged person, and I have spent 28 years of my career before I saw an internet or a mobile phone. So, but I think it's very relevant today. We are talking about it. AI is undoubtedly is very important. I mean, I use the technology as well. I see how many benefits. I come from a different mindset, different background, different grounding. But I think it's important that if you really want to succeed and want to be relevant and contextual, regardless of your age and experience, it's important that you need to embrace the technology and now AI. Especially I use the chat GPT now. I try to use it. But I think, there are many, many advantages. I said, I don't want to debate. But I think one of the aspects coming from me personally, based on my one anecdote, which I would like to share, it can take you to a large extent in arriving at a good decisions, but he doesn't have that emotional connect. He can set the patterns of expressions in terms of tone or in terms of facial recognition. But, I just want to say, can you show the empathy or compassion as it required when you're talking about the coaching or a counseling or advising? I just want to take one anecdote very quickly to say, this is the time when we were, especially when you are addressing somebody whose career and job is at stake. So, how do you coach a guy how to deal such situations? Here is a guy who spent 25 years working, a very senior guy in a plant in a small town, is regarded as one of the senior most guy, well respected. Here we are having a dialogue, me and my colleague who is from UK. We are telling him that you outlived your utility, but in a more empathetic fashion, but we'll take care of you. You have few years left, but but you need to part ways. Give you 3 months and we take care of everything. Financially, you will not suffer. I think this guy has accepted when you felt you mentioned to him in a way, very empathetic passion, showing a lot of compassion. Then the question came, instead of 3 months, can you give us 6 months? The pat reply came from my colleague from UK, our rules do not permit us. Okay, so I intervened there. I said, okay, just hang on. Can I know the reason? He said, I don't want more compensation, sir, but adjust the compensation, but I want to 6 months. I said, why? He said, I come from a small town, as you know, I spent there, I got a lot of respect. My daughter is getting married after 3 months. At that time, I want to be in a position. Otherwise, there's a social stigma. Do you think AI is substituting this British colleague of mine? He doesn't understand it's a small town in Punjab. He is respected. How is his status symbol will be, stigma will be attached. So this is the one example I want to say why AI can take you to 90%. But the last mile, it's important that you need to have that emotional touch in terms of compassion, in terms of showing that empathy and trying to address the problem. It is not that you just do it mechanically, everything. That element itself, the last minute, last mile is the most important aspect, especially when you're taking a tough decisions. The art of tough love, which is very important for any leader, soft on people, but tough on issues. The outcome is same, but how you arrive at the outcome, the process, which cannot be substituted by mission. At least we have not reached stage. I have not experienced it. If some stage it comes, it has got own repercussions. We can talk
So
later.
I'm sure, I'm not sure what would Sudhir, Pallavi and Chitresh say about that, but thank you very much. You touched an emotional chord for sure. And next question is for Pallavi. Pallavi, what is the potential of AI in identifying needs and preferences of different people? Like Mr. Dwarkanath said, that somebody sitting in Punjab, India, or anywhere for that matter, needs 6 months of salary because of a daughter's wedding.
Firstly, I would like to just say that I believe in the future of AI totally. And I can tell you that we are today in a landmark moment with where what's going on in the space of AI, as well as the advent of generative AI, right? And generative AI is really not too old. If you will see, it's just about a year and a half perhaps, right? And the amount of work and innovation that's happening in that space, I tend to believe that the future of coaching is going to be completely bright. But then again, right, what we are saying is nothing can replace a human touch, but AI can do many more things in terms of enabling the coaches to be more efficient, more productive, right? For example, a whole lot of the administrative tasks that the coaches will need to do today will completely be automated, right? That's how you will let the coaches actually do more value-added work, which is more has touch with people, right? So that's how I feel about AI. And I also wanted to add a couple of things in terms of the need, right? Today, most of our organizations have AI in some shape or form, right? Um, um, so people, our customers' expectations have completely changed in the digitization world. Our customers expect they be taken care, they be responded fast. So AI can help you become, improve your overall customer experience. In the employees context, you can see whether you talk about from an entire process of hire to retire, AI can make you completely efficient in that space of the need of an employee. You talk about what AI can do wonderful things in the space of life sciences. And these are things that will impact hugely in that space, right? When you talk life sciences, we are talking about drug discovery to be more efficient than what it takes to discover a drug today, right? We are talking about things like drug safety. There are adverse effects of a drug coming in and market, right? AI can detect these kind of adversaries and protect and make drug safety more powerful. Let's talk about weather, for example, right? There are so many things that's happening in the space of weather. And by the way, forecasting is not something new that we have seen, right? That has been happening. There has been AI in the space. But all of us as people are getting impacted because of weather, right? So the AI can, and these are some of the examples, right? What AI can really do is figure out the uncertainties within the space of the forecasting and be able to better predict the weather, right? So it is impacting every person's need, in my view, right? That's all I would like to say.
Ashley, would you like to counter that? Looks like Pallavi from IBM sees AI to be on top, AI to be taking over our lives.
No, so funnily, is this mic, am I audible? So no? Oh, sorry. Oh, now it's working, I think. No, so funnily, actually, a lot of the things that Pallavi said, and even though I'm technically on the other side, I completely agree with, right? So, and I think where we are today.
He suddenly changed his side.
No, I haven't. Let me, I haven't. No, but I think where we are today, to Pallavi's point, right? There are situations where AI can be helpful. Is it a replacement? I don't think so. Definitely not today. Is it a tool that people can use? There's a lot of data. There's a lot of menial work that needs to get done. Can you use technology better to help you understand that data a lot better? Of course, certainly. But there are lots of nuances that is linked to what coaching is, which I think we are not there as yet, right? Coaching is more of an art in my mind than a science, and therefore learning and generative AI, I think will get there. I think it's not there today. It's far from there today, and I think that is the nuance, right? For example, how do you get someone to really open up? How do you get someone to talk about what's deep within? how do you take things contextually, right? There could be in the video you showed, right? There was a point about a joke or a comment made 20 years ago in your youth. Let's say you're at Burning Man and you did some stuff. Is that going to be taken out of context 20 years later, right? How is AI going to be able to understand that context? Will it understand the sarcasm? Will it understand the joke? Will it understand that people are not willing to open up, right? So when there are people who go in for coaching because their organization expects them to do it, right? And so they're doing it more as check the box. How do you get beyond that and make that breakthrough? I don't think technology is there today, right? You need so someone told me something very interesting, right? What is a coach today, especially at a senior leadership level? Um, People don't know whether they're looking for a coach or a mentor or a counselor or a therapist. So how do you play that role in today's environment in such a way that you're able to bring something better back to the person? And I feel today AI is going to use data, is going to use information, is going to learn, but it's still not there as yet. And it's a tool that should be taken on, should be encouraged, should be brought on, and it'll enhance the ability of a coach to perform their role in a much better way. But I don't think it takes away from the human element or the soul of a coach today.
So Ashley clearly thinks that soul and silicon will go together. And I wonder, what would you say about that, Sudhir? I mean, how can AI coaching tools help human coaches manage workload more efficiently? Every organization wants all their employees to be coached without replacing their jobs. How can AI help humans?
So, AI, and the ability of what it can do, the usual stuff would be, it makes it scalable, makes it predictive, gives, if you're actually doing something in mass, it actually brings some consistency, right? All that is fine. But we must realize, and I think every organization is really thinking through it, we are coaching a very different world today, right? The people who are coming into the jobs are very different. They are uh, far more savvy than what we were when we joined on computers. And as leaders who work in AI, who work in technology, we actually find these young kids coming out there and actually questioning you, and actually makes us, step back and think. They're coming out and solving problems for customers very differently. I think it's really important for coaches to embrace what is coming with AI, right? They have, we are not talking about replacing them. Obviously you made a pertinent point about, are they a therapist? Are they, a coach? Are they a mentor? I think that's fine. But how does that person who's coaching build trust with this community, right? Or with anyone else, or with a leader? They need to be far more intelligent. They need to be quick. They need to be on their feet. They need to actually create a whole bunch of options for them, right? And AI makes you do that. I think that's the most important thing. And as one goes along, and as days pass, and as more technology, evolves, the ability of the coach will be far more challenged as you go forward, because the coachee will be a very smart person that you're trying to coach. I think that's the key point.
Kishore, would you agree with that? And a follow-up question would be that in a research, about 200 people got researched, and some 46% women said we are in extreme fear that AI will take away our jobs, and only 37% men said that. Do you think it will affect gender differently?
Thanks. Thanks, Prachi. Before I answer that question, maybe the debate, obviously very interesting. So maybe my take on this, like most of us are following the prime time news from the US, who's going to win, right? We have seen the debate a couple of days, or yesterday morning, I guess, Indian time. Now we've put the data on both the candidates into AI. Clearly the data on one candidate is so strong versus the felon, on the other side. AI will predict who will be the president. But all of us in realistic world know that the race is supremely tight and we don't know who's going to win. So if AI were to predict, we know the answer, basis the data clearly. A person who's obviously been with all the qualifications being weighed, and the other person with a history. But the real answer, we don't know. So AI can predict, but what happens ultimately, it's as in DBS, we call it hardware versus hardware. The hardware gives you the answer which is predictive, but the hardware, when people look at it, even the advertisements, they are all to appeal to your emotions, not so much to the logic, right? You can always kind of list out the 5 benefits of the product you are going to advertise. But if you see most advertisements are with kids or the spouses coming on the TV and talking about the benefits rather than the features which could have been listed out. So it's all about the emotions. And AI hasn't evolved, to my point, to the emotional level. And the point has been well made that coaching is about trust. And it's about the underlying, the classic iceberg, underlying thing, what you see underneath the water is what coaching appeals to. And AI has not still evolved. It's of course going to be a great enabler. If I am a coach, if I'm going to a coaching session, it makes me prepare well because all the data is there. It will give me the cue cards. It will throw up things so that I can quickly move and then change my strategies depending on what I'm seeing on the ground. But the judgment ultimately has to lie with the human. So it's helping us to do a great job, but can it take over? No. Now coming to the question on women's, the survey you said women are more afraid than men. I think actually the question or the survey has more societal issue than the survey per se. It's an issue of today how the gender inequality is reflecting the society, which is reflecting in the survey than anything to do with AI in my mind. AI is actually properly trained, is going to be having unconscious biases. It won't have the biases rather, which today as humans we have those unconscious biases. So actually AI shouldn't differentiate between men and women in terms of gender. But the survey response is obviously because we have seen how the society has treated one gender versus other gender, and that's coming as actually in the response is my sense. So I don't agree with that survey results that it will impact women more than men.
So you think AI is completely unbiased and
If trained properly, it can be unbiased. But today, the people who are training also are biased, right? So your biases are coming into the AI. So you need to be conscious of your unconscious biases and train the AI. Then all this gender thing which you're talking about will not happen. But if you ask, again, the US example, one party to train the AI versus other party to train the AI, the outcomes would be very different.
Thank you, Kishore. And Chitresh, what do you think that the AI tools, AI coaching tools are actually going to, do you think they can help humans scale their work?
Firstly, I don't know why I'm so close to the against the motion. I think you should be in between. I think if imagine three of us who are debating for AI, imagine the AI sitting. I think AI can take the whole room on its own. We wouldn't have any debate left. But just coming to the discussion here, AI for some reason in every discussion, I hope the colleagues here agree, is taken as a unified technology. It's actually not unified, right? It's a very diversified technology. It's used for different purposes, right? You have the neural network, you have the language processing, you have AI, which is on vision, right? So there are 10 different ways on how AI can be used. And somehow we box it together and make it a beast. And that has been happening for a really long time. When the cars took over the horses, there were people who were rebellious. When the smartphones took over the normal phones, people were rebellion. And let's be honest, smartphone take over our life everywhere. Like the gent sitting right in front of me, I'm sure, like, look at them, all driven by the phone, not the debate, right? So it's these new technologies are gonna drive you inside out, whether we like it or not. It's matter of time. To give you some factual data, our company processes close to $3.6 billion in securities, salary data, and 95% of underwriting and research is done by AI. There is no possibility of any of the IIM, IIT, and MIT going through that data at the speed what AI can do, right? I totally agree with you, sir. When it comes to emotion and sentiments, AI will fail to a certain point today. But the new generation actually don't want emotion, right? They want to cut through the point. They want to cut through the center of the topic, unfortunately. And that's in the trend of retention and attrition we are talking about, right?
We have new generation here. Please stand up and debate on that.
Checkmate.
So
There's a follow-up question, Chitresh. You've really, you've really said some really hot comments. So, how do we build trust in AI?
Yeah, I think trust in anything, right? Any technology. How do you trust self-driving cars? I mean, Elon Musk here, I'm sure there are for and against for Elon Musk, right? He's talking about what is human. The fundamental question is, what is human life, right? How can you actually make us immortal? After all, human is just a compound combination of memories. If you somehow can store the memories in some neural format, you're basically there for indefinite. Like we have seen all the movies, right? So I don't have to get onto that. But the whole point is, I think it's less about how that is gonna be against us or for us. I think it is definitely making our life better, whether we want it or not, right? It's reading through a lot of recurring job faster than us. It's helping us. A great example for coaching. Let's just talk about coaching. AI allows you to be 24/7. Like a coach has to sleep. AI will be there 24/7, reading the data, summarizing all the information in Ziffy, right? So it allows people, the coach, to actually get connected to their coachee much faster and probably make a substantial impact. Because a lot of many times when, for example, both of us talking, there are a lot of human emotions that confuses us. And new emotions keep coming up. I don't want to get into that topic, but AI allows you to cut the noise, come to the center point of the real problem.
And
You
again,
talked
sorry to
about
interject, but I got very carried over to what Chitresh just said, right? To add a tech point of view on how you can get AI to trust, there are governance related tools that are available today that provides all the guardrails. I will say generative AI is still not there. To the comments on the gentleman that are making, we are yet to make that leap, but the journey has pretty much started, right? And these tools help us eliminate biases, all the privacy, the compliances, your organization, private data, right? So it is started that journey that you can allow generative AI to be trusted upon with massive amount of innovation that will take place in future. Yeah.
Pallavi, I am not contesting at all what you are saying, but I think there is a subtle difference. I think we need to understand. This is my perspective. Since it's a debate, I'm saying everyone needs to use AI. It gives you a lot of benefits. It goes without saying. I think how we've seen first technology help, now how AI is taken to a different league. It's amazing. I mean, a person of my age, if I'm saying it, accepting with, but I think there are certain elements which is not yet proved and tested. I wish we reach that stage.
True,
Said
sir.
today, if you have another COVID, will it be able to predict? Is a challenge.
True,
How
sir.
could
Absolutely
today, if
right.
the financial meltdown happens, will it be able to predict? If everything is predicted, everything will go. You put on the share market the price, what AI tells you. Do we do it? I think we need to do that.
No
Sort of.
debate on your point, sir. Absolutely right. All we are, I think the pro side is trying to say is that it is only going to make humans superhuman. That's all. That's all I think we're all trying to say.
will it really make us superhuman, Ashley? And do you think if I make a joke today, you will probably forgive me a few years, months later? Will AI will be able to forgive me?
I hope so. I
When
hope
I
so.
apply for a CHRO job tomorrow, do you think it'll forgive me that I ragged Ashley on the great debate?
I certainly hope so.
If everything AI takes care, then you need not be a test cricketer. You tell how to play and go. It doesn't happen. I think, there is the skills you need to apply. It varies from person to person. I think one of the things, especially in terms of coaching, is you can't coach everybody in the same way. I think sometimes the flow and dynamics change depending on the dialogue and body language. So whether AI today is in a position to do it, I'm not sure. But tomorrow it can do it, maybe. But I haven't seen that so far. So I think ultimately it may go up to 90-95%. But that 5% last mile, I think how you finish the race is very important. This is where I think still we have to go a long way. That's my.
Chitresh is smiling and nodding. So this is a sort of, we didn't discuss
Can
this
I
question,
ask
but
a
I
counter
have,
question? Sorry, right? Do the folks who are on the side of saying of pro, do you think humans will become redundant?
Not really. As I said, right, it is only going to augment humans' capabilities. That's all it is going
how,
to do.
Pallavi, how?
In many ways, right? I mean,
Especially in coaching.
okay, so if I have to get very specific to coaching, for example,
and all of these mundane administrative tasks can be done by AI. We all know that. Personalized content in terms of, let's say, feedback or setting of smart goals is something that AI can easily do, right? Whether it can present you with the content, right? Now it is up to the coaches. It is making coaches make smarter to be able to go and have these discussions. So it is basically enabling the coach to be able to have these conversations, whether it is about feedback and customized feedback, right? Or whether it is about goal setting. It also helps you with a whole lot of data driven decision making, right? Again, enabling the coach. All it does is to make that coach more efficient, to be able to do more value added work, like sir what just said, right? Something related to empathy, right? Something that has a human touch, right? So it will do all of that. But again, the most point that I'm trying to bring here is that nothing can replace a personal coach at this point of time, wherever the technology is, but it will definitely augment coaching and every other
But I think that's the
aspects
point
of
we were
human
making,
life.
right? Which is,
I agree
can
totally.
you
I agree. It
don't
is only to enable.
Sorry.
I just want to make a point, right? And I was speaking to a journalist friend of mine. She writes articles, and her writing style is a certain way. Initially, when she started using ChatGPT, obviously the research was coming the way, then she used to actually make it. Now, over time, and this is over several months, when it has learned her writing style,
Yeah.
right? It has learned, how she thinks. Now, even now, she needs to actually do a lot of things, but it's much lesser. So, it is learning. It is
Yeah.
learning fast.
Yeah.
Will it change? No, it won't change. But it'll make her far more efficient.
Yeah.
And that's what is happening.
And that's her work. Like she's a journalist.
That's her work.
So
That's her work. As a coachee, if I have to coach all of you, and if that machine is telling me that for you, I should speak in this way, for you, I should be a mentor,
Yeah,
for you, that'll just help my ability. And, if I can know a little bit more than you on your subject, right, you will have a little bit more respect for me,
Yeah.
right? I think it's that power.
Prachi wanted to make a point on this. We have Chitresh here, who I assume is a millennial. I'm a Gen X, right? And our generation have kind of booked trunk calls and waited for the call to get connected for 2 hours and taken the trunk call. Versus now you can flip a phone and talk to your daughter in the US on a WhatsApp for whatever, uninhibited. We have seen the technology change from a trunk call to what it is. Our generation has seen, right? So having seen that, has the world really changed? Yes, it has changed. But at the underlying behavioral level, has it changed? Not necessarily changed. So generations which have only brought up with a mobile the day they kind of started with, versus a generation which has seen the entire change, maybe a little bit of wisdom which comes across is that the human nature ultimately hasn't really changed, because technology has really made life much better, to the point Chitresh made. But uh, coaching and all are ultimately human elements, and that hasn't really changed, is my perspective.
So you think human beings have not evolved as much as...
No, not evolution. I'm saying that basic human traits and behaviors underlying will still remain the same. It doesn't, it evolves, but it's not that the basic fears, emotions, they still remain the same.
Absolutely, Kishore. I'm with you. I mean, to Chitresh's,
How am I the
Sudhir's
foundation point for everything?
Sudhir's point.
I've just been anchored here.
First my organization was changed. Now my name is also being changed.
Sudhir's point, his journalist friend's work is being done by AI, and a journalist friend of mine said that I want my jhadu pocha to be done by AI while I'm doing my own work as a journalist or poetry or painting. But that's besides the point. Chitresh, you said that AI is available 24 by 7. You know, I think of it that food is good for the body, but too much of food, not good for the body, and that's why many of us go on a food diet. Do you think it's also time that sometimes we should go on an information diet also? This wasn't a planned question, but I'm sure you can take a dig at it.
So I love that we have these examples, right? Ki khana khaya, nahi khaya, and all these with technology. I think again cutting to the emotions, right? The center of gravity here, the questions that are being asked, for example, the emotions and in sentiments part and everything, the foundational behavior has not changed. It's been the same. With all due respect, it has changed. I'll give you a very good example. Imagine yourself in a doctor's clinic or a coach's clinic, and you're given an appointment at 3 p.m. and you're there 3 p.m. sharp, and you're made to wait 30 minutes. You're going to be impatient. You're going to be furious. You're going to be shouting at the poor receptionist. You're going to be throwing away the water. You're going to reject the coffee that's come your way. And you're going to come with a very, very bad mood to the coach. And the coach has to settle you down first. So the first half of 1 hour, first part of your coaching session is about settling you down. And that emotion was created 30 minutes back. It's not lifetime experience. It's nothing. It's changed us dramatically the way technologies are working. Like, try to remove internet in this room for 2 hours. Let's see how they react. We're talking about food diet, and just try to do it. They're gonna start snatching each
No,
other's.
we're talking more about AI and not really, basics of
No,
computer.
AI has become very basic. Like in my business, you take out AI, my efficiency is going to go down. And today, what I'm no longer the same person or the same company. So I'm just giving a practical example that even in coaching, I totally agree that the sentiment emotion cannot be taken away, but it really allows coaches to do what they really love and they're good at, which is real coaching, taking away all the administration part, all the planning part, right? Even for example, with the coachee, being able to pre-filled information that the coaching has to go through during the session can be all optimized and automated. And I totally agree. The trends can be read much faster. The patterns, the recurring patterns can be read through between the lines much faster, and it actually improves the predictability.
I'm with you, Chitresh. You're my friend. But we have to debate. So the question for people against the motion is that, and anybody could answer, is there a possibility, the danger, the fear that AI would know us better than we know ourselves?
Maybe I'll take that. Yeah, it is possible. This one I need to agree because AI, see, sometimes, but again, the emotions for humans, sometimes you actually sometimes get carried away by knowing yourself. How many of us know ourselves truly? Right? Everybody thinks they know themselves, but not necessarily, right? That's why the 360 feedback, all kinds of tools are used to tell you the dark part of your, your personality. But AI, if properly, given data, will actually be able to analyze you much more scientifically without any biases and give you your personality like a psychometric tool. And that actually will tell you more than what you think you know about yourself. So I think AI in this instance will be actually maybe more knowledgeable about you than you, because it would have taken contextualized various instances, how you react. It would have taken any number of inputs, right? Not only your questions you've answered, seen your behavior in instances, taken recordings, seen your reactions, put all the data together and can come up with a intelligent profile of you, which you may not have realized yourself. Possible.
So you were against the motion. So I just have to remind.
It can lead to potential manipulations. It can be privacy concerns. It could be ethical dilemmas. Those are the aspects, which are there. I think you can't rule it out. I would say that's it. That is the concern which we have. But the question is, ultimately, we'll get a solution by applying AI. How to get over it?
But sir, I'm on your side. Let's ask them that how do we make sure that AI is not biased and is fair and transparent? Chitresh, Sudhir, Pallavi.
And as I mentioned in my earlier conversation, there are many governance tools, and I will again name, this is IBM, so I can only talk about, there are other tools also. We have a whole platform called Watson X, right? And within Watson X, it comes coupled with a foundation model with data. And sorry, I didn't want to get technical, but it also comes with governance tools where it actually, and these are guardrails that you establish and gets governed by these kind of tools, which will make sure that it is eliminating these kind of biases that comes, whether it is race, gender, whatever kind of biases, whether it is related to ethics, all these guardrails can be established within these governance tools. And again, sorry, I'm technical. So, and again, technology, I'm giving a technology response, right? So
The easiest way to explain it is, we use a lot of use cases, right? And if you want to simplify what I'm saying is that if you are teaching a child ethics, you need to give them a lot of examples, right? If you are teaching them how not to be biased, you need to actually give them the scenarios, right? It's exactly like that. And the more time you spend, the better informed it'll be. Now, if you have somebody who's biased and who's feeding them, then it'll become like that. So it's really about, how do you yourself make it, invest that time to make it as unbiased or as ethical, and how do you actually, put your checks and balances there, right? Otherwise, it'll do what you need, how you train it.
And just to add to what you just mentioned, right, it is not just about technology tools, it is also about people carry our own biases. The people who are developing the technology need to be from a representative set, which actually can make biases not possible, right? So whether are you testing with, and again, AI is all about data, right? So whether are you taking a representative data which is diverse, which will make sure these guardrails are being taken care, whether the people who are developing, so it is also the people aspect of it than the technology alongside.
What would you say that about, Sudhir?
No, I totally agree. I think I'll actually weirdly be agreeing to both sides here because not because I'm sitting at center, but
Just because you're sitting.
I got that. So I think you are absolutely right. I think the biggest threat with AI is the biasness because the input are feeded by us, the training is done by us, and there is our human element. So the subset of people working on it is very important. So given the topic here is about coaches and the organizational behavior, I think a lot of organizations are finding that, and they are no longer using this as a black box technology, right? People are not just isolating that, it's actually opening up. You need you're absolutely right. We need corporate governance around that. More importantly, you need buy-in from leadership. You need buy-in for people who will be using it, and more importantly, understanding that, right? The why behind it. Just saying, "Boss, I'm going to be an AI company to improve your valuation," which is going to be short-term. Because let's be honest, I'm sure most of people know here, AI has been there since 1950, right? The phenomena just got, the fire today, right? It's been there for really long. So if they had to take over, they would have. But because of the restriction with hardware and all, data system, we'll talk about it later. But coming back to the core topic, I think it's about sharing and creating the awareness about why we are using this tool and getting people to buy into it, and having amazing people who actually understand the category of AI being used. Is it vision? Is it language processing? And really, really making sure that they are learning that continuously. Continuous learning is super important. Knowing the languages like Python and new languages that are built on this is super important. And the relevance of actually the L&D becomes critical part, because a group of people who are working on the old version versus a group of people working on new version, it's going to be dramatic change.
So you think there's no danger to jobs?
I think,
Especially to the coaches.
I don't think so. Now, I should be saying for the motion. I think, but I personally believe AI is gonna, again, going back to the fundamental point, is gonna make the coaches more productive, more efficient. I'll be surprised if coaches are not already using it. Like as basic as scheduling calendar, right? Telling them which days are freer, than where they can take breaks, or go for better sessions and learn from themselves. I think there are tools out there which is making all of us better in our mobile phone, in our laptops, in everywhere, right? So it is going to optimize. It's in a way going to make us superhuman very soon. There are AI that has gone into neurological integration, which has avoid people running from Down syndrome, ADHD. I can give you various examples, right?
All right. Do we have questions from the audience? Wonderful, please. Oh my God. Pallavi, Chitresh and Sudhir need to wake up. Yes, ma'am. I was always their friend.
We're all unified in what we're saying. The point at motion of saying don't confuse the tool with the artist.
Totally.
Which I think you agree as well, right? And I think the crux, at least in my mind, of the debate is who is the artist and how does the artist use those tools?
Yeah.
I think we're all six of us saying the same thing.
Right.
And which is where I feel the for are actually speaking for the against.
And just to,
I hate it when people take my job.
just to add, nothing can replace human being.
Right, sir.
Totally.
All right, sir. You had a
Thank you.
question?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I actually, it's more of a request for Mr. Sudhir to elaborate on something. He said, so a few minutes back, rather at the beginning of the conversation, you mentioned that, eventually when, let's say, AI has taken care of the administrative part of coaching, coaches need to give more choices, in terms of people who are approaching them for coaching. Could you elaborate a little more on that thought? Thank you.
So the context was choices or options, because end of the day, if you're coaching people of a certain level, the AI has to give you the ability to know a little bit more, right? So if you're giving them options, it can actually help you to give you, give a lot more scenarios, give a lot more options in that respect, right? So it's more of that in that context, nothing to do with more options for candidates. Yeah.
By the way, I want to ask the same question that you answered, that they are waiting with the partner who's dealing the AI and the cloud computing PNL at KPMG. Very soon. Rohit from South.
I see a lot of emotions in the middle of the...
Any other question from the
Prachi,
audience?
may I intervene and actually just take a quick audience poll?
Yes.
We said this is a mix of generations. So how many people here think that it is more going to be an AI-led coaching going forward? Let's see a show of hands. Okay. And how many think that it's going to be it's going to continue to be more human and art dominated? Okay. So I think that's still a little bit of... And you can raise both your hands.
I feel the emotion.
Humans need to raise both hands.
Super. Absolutely.
A big hand to that.
Absolutely. So it's a biased question.
After all the debate, you won.
We don't know what happens in the future, but I surely got a lot of nourishment for the mind and heart. Thank you very much, panelists, for your time. And I see
absolutely
that as we build out AI, we must reflect all that is good for us, good for humans, spirituality, kindness, compassion. AI can never take that. Thank you very much.
Please, may I request Snehal Kumar to be on the stage with us and present our panel with mementos. And I'm just thinking that, Sudhir, had I had AI doing my script, I would have probably not made that error. Snehal, please maybe have you on stage. And of course, if there are any more questions, please feel free to ask the panel. Thank you, Kishore. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Mr. Dwarkanath. We had a great discussion here. Sudhir, please check the name. So one more round of applause, please, and thank you very much to all our panelists and Prachi for being an amazing, amazing anchor on this. Thank you.
We just exchange companies.
All right, so let's move on. And our next conversation is where we have Nitika Bhatia, Chief Human Resources Officer at HDFC. And Nitika will shed light on financial wellness for executives. And she will explore how financial well being is critical to leadership effectiveness and overall executive performance. So, Nitika, please could we have you on stage?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here after a very, very interesting debate on human versus AI. And shifting gears to a very different topic that we want to talk about today. I think for all of us as HR leaders here, there's been a lot of emphasis on employee well-being, right? And so far, the topics that we've been focusing on has been around physical well-being. And of course, with COVID coming in, the emphasis on mental well-being and the focus on mental well-being also came into play. However, I think there's another very important aspect of well-being, which is financial well-being, which I think today, as we stand, there is not as much emphasis as we do on the physical and mental well-being of our employees. And that is exactly what we will talk about today. And before we get into how do we do it, how do we start working on financial well-being, I think let's just talk about why is it needed. So why is the focus on financial well-being so important for us as leaders in the organizations? So I think VUCA world was a term that was coined in the corporate sector, I think in 2000s. And today in 2024, it still holds true, despite, I think, new terms being coming in, which were introduced by Serena saying bunny. But the fact that the world that we live in continues to be volatile, continues to be complex, continues to be ambiguous. So which is leading to a lot more uncertainties that we are not really prepared about. And all these uncertainties obviously provide opportunities. So I think that with that in mind, I think if you look at it, if you look at the fact that life expectancy has gone up. So in India, the life expectancy in 2000 was around 62 years. And in 2023, the life expectancy has increased to 70.4 years. So that is the progression that has happened. And as we close this year, the life expectancy is expected to be even higher. With that, the second element that we look at is the fact that standard of living has gone up. So with the space that India is in, we're a growing economy. We have a growing middle class that's coming up. The salary levels going up also leads to the standard of living going up. So when we look at our employee base and the fact that we have a defined retirement age, it is important for everybody to start looking at financial planning because of the fact that with higher life expectancy, higher standard of living, even once we retire or we stop working, we would want to maintain the same standard of living, will definitely need us to focus on better financial planning, better retirement planning, and even better planning while going through different life stages. And talking about demographics, which again becomes the next important element here, I think I've moved 2 slides. Okay, so I think this slide missing. I think there's another very, in India, we are officially the youngest country in the world with our median age of 28.4 years. And 65% of our population is below the age of 35 years. And with that, you have a much younger workforce coming into jobs, which is obviously reflected in our employee demographics as well. So you have more millennials and Gen Zs as part of your workforce. The competition for jobs is increasing because for every job, there are more applicants. The competition increases for jobs. You have more, for every job, you have more people. The newer generation, being more upskilled, can easily replace and be more effective in terms of the existing workforce that you have. And we continue to focus on upskilling and on learning. And the other fact is that restructuring and layoffs are also a part of reality in the workforce today, which obviously did not exist, say, for example, at least in India 2 decades ago. But as we speak today, there are uncertainties. A lot of us in this room would definitely know not one, but more than one of our colleagues or friends who've been laid off. And that again adds to the financial stress and hence the need for better financial planning. And that is what we will, so with that, I think let's talk about how do we work on building this financial well-being. So how can we as leaders work towards creating this financial well-being for our employees? I think it works in very simple steps, which is understanding what the financial goals are, understanding what is the risk tolerance, because that again is very, very important. And then marrying the two in terms of defining how do you save and how do you invest basis the goals and the risk tolerance. And the other piece that becomes very, very important is an adequate level of financial literacy as well, so that you're able to make informed decisions and you enable your employees to make these informed financial decisions to be able to achieve their financial goals. And this is how HDFC Sky becomes an enabler and a partner in your employees' journey and in your organization's journey to be able to facilitate this financial well-being. So in a world where information is available on your phone at all points of time, and it is difficult to sift through this information and really figure out what is right and what is not right, this is where HDFC Sky brings in the expertise in terms of helping making informed investment decisions, which are really backed by a lot of research and data. So we have a team of research analysts who would provide those insights backed by research and data to be able to help you make those informed investment decisions. Also help in terms of goal planning. So I think if we look at our employee demographics, we have employees across different age groups and across different generations. And the goals, the financial goals that they might have will also vary. And like how we work on employee benefits and making it customized for each of our employee groups, here again, it needs to be customized, and that is where we help. Whether it is a short-term goal for any of your millennials, which could be, say, for example, the next European vacation, or, for example, buying a Manish Malhotra dress for the wedding, and long-term goals, which is buying a house, which is education for children, Each of these are customized basis the employee need and the employee demographics. So backed by research, customized solution to be able to meet short-term and long-term financial goals is what we are able to do. And how do we do that is, of course, as I said, backed by research and advice. And there's data to prove how much those insights have worked. So our recommendations in terms of success rate in FY24 was above 83%. So these were the exact advice and insights that were curated by our research team. More than 8 of 10 investments were profitable, and there were scenarios where one of our recommendations gave almost 28% returns in less than 3 months. So that is the power of data, the power of insights, and the power of research that we're able to bring to the table for your employees. And we do it, again, in a very simple manner. Again, we live in a world where everything is on your mobile phones, everything is digital. We offer the same experience, make it as simple as it is for you to order food, to order your groceries, or any online shopping that you do. The platform is available both on app and on web, and you can invest in any financial asset in less than 5 minutes with a couple of clicks. We have, I think, a video as well, which I will just play for you to be able to help you understand how the entire journey works and how easy it is to make those investments. And it is, we offer all asset classes, right from mutual funds to equity to commodity to F&O. And again, looking at how the world is changing for everything that's buy now, pay later. So we have a margin trading facility which makes you buy stocks and pay later at a very, very discounted rate, which is 1.25% per month. And there are trade recommendations, again, backed by data, backed by the research team. And the other benefits that come along with it, which is for corporates here, is there's zero brokerage for 30 days, no account opening charges, zero AMC for the first year, and the brokerage, which is almost the lowest across segments. So it's backed by research, making it very simple, making the entire journey simple on your hand devices at very attractive rates as well. And how do we go about with this is set up an appointment anytime with us. We will curate those journeys for your employees. Also offer Sky Learn, which is our learning platform where we organize webinars with our research experts who come and make presentations and talk about how to make your financial decisions, how to go about financial planning for your employees at a time that works for them. Research and report recommendations, again, are shared, available on the app, on the web at all points of time to make those investment decisions. And the platform can be linked to your HRMS platforms if there are open APIs. So there is no need for employees to go anywhere else, but on your HRMS, there is a link that's given that leads them to the platform or the app to be able to make that journey. So there is a small video which I can just play for you, which will give you a flavor of how the entire journey works. I will need help.
investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
So that is how simple we make the entire financial planning for your employees. And like any other focus that we have on employee well-being, which has a direct impact on productivity, on efficiency, I think the moment we start talking about financial well-being, to take away that entire financial stress leads to the same objectives that all of us in our organizations want to achieve. So happy to take any questions, my colleagues are available here in case you want to have a conversation for any customized solutions that you would want for your corporates basis your employees' needs and employee demographics. So we're happy to do that as well. But happy to take any questions here. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nitika, and I think a very, very big round of applause for her. And of course, she's available for any questions, I'm sure, throughout the rest of the evening. And I can now see that the power of the bar is very, very powerful. And we are probably waiting for a lot of people to come back. But in the meantime, what we have is our next segment of a conversation. Jyoti, please may I request you to present the memento to Nitika. My apologies. Please, just for 1 second and a photograph. Jyoti is a veteran with WeAce, somebody who I worked with personally for the last 4 years, and I think one of the first employees of WeAce. So, thank you both. So here we now move on to the next segment where we feature Richa Verma, Head of People Experience, HR Process Excellence and People Tech at Flipkart. Richa will share her insights on the 3 key ingredients of leadership DNA, revealing essential qualities that drive impactful leadership in today's fast-paced world. So thank you, Richa, for being here and for sharing your views with us. All yours.
Well, a very, very good evening to all of you. Yes. Okay, thank you. I know the bar has been raised, and I mean it quite literally so. But I think I'm going to keep this discussion, or rather a conversation, much more sharper than I had originally planned for. When I was given this topic of the 3 key ingredients of DNA, and I think there have been so many conversations. There was a round table where a lot of behavioral things of leadership came out, right from influencing. We heard from the panel about negotiation, about charisma, about executive presence. I'm going to keep it very, very core to our hearts. The 3 behavioral traits that I'm going to talk about today, I find them core to us as leaders, to us as employees, and I think they are also becoming core to the organization, particularly when we are conflicted or inflicted with VUCA and BANI kind of environment. The first trait I want to kind of talk about is authenticity and integrity. And I think there were some examples. There was a question to the panel also initially to say, is it really okay to bring your vulnerable self out there? I did bring one example from my personal life itself when I was confronted with a massive malware attack on one of the critical platforms that we use in Flipkart. And it meant a huge negative impact to the employee experience, which could have been very, very averse to the particular charter that I lead in Flipkart. However, and while we had a very strong strategy and a plan to kind of confront it, deep inside me, there was a very, a lot of butterflies also in my stomach, because this was a situation which we all were experiencing as an organization for the very first time, totally unprecedented, totally unplanned for. And while I was trying to put up a very strong front in front of my team, because I had to kind of pump up that energy in them, motivate them, keep them on, strong to do a lot of work manually rather than in an automated way. I think the fear inside was also kind of something that was pulling me down personally. And so I went to my boss, the CHRO, and I did share that, besides all the planning that we have to confront this situation, we don't know whether towards the end of it, my decision may just flip. And the words I could get back was like, don't worry, you're committed to employees. That is very clearly visible in what you're trying to do. And if it flips, I know you have a plan B. So just stick to your guns and go ahead with it. And I'm not too sure how many of us either take out that courage to, go ahead and not to even a colleague or a friend at work, but in front of your own boss, to be able to share that, you are really petrified of that situation and you don't know if your decision is going to really bear the result that you're looking forward to. But I think also it's about that leader who showed trust, who gave me that free space to bring out my fears, voice them out, and then restore my courage. And I have a very beautiful video towards the end of this talk that is going to bring about the authenticity and the nature of being you at your workplace very beautifully. That's a free space environment that we try to create at Flipkart, wherein people can give their suggestions, voice their concerns really openly and freely without the fear of retaliation or any kind of negative reactions. I don't know how many of you resonate with this, that authenticity and integrity, bringing the true self out as a leader, really helps in creating that environment which encourages others, your employees also, to bring their true self out. How many of you resonate with it? A show of hands. Thank you. All right. The next trait that I want to talk about is creativity. And creativity is not just about bringing in new technology, thinking out of the box, but I think creativity in today's environment is all the transformations you want to bring about, the mindset shift that you want to bring about, but also bringing out that game plan to say how I'm going to prepare my employees or my leadership to adapt to that change, and how you prepare your teams to navigate through that change very, very effectively. And just one example, again from Flipkart, is that when I joined Flipkart about 2.5 years ago, and I met with a lot of my internal stakeholders, I did a lot of one-on-ones with my entire team. And I was confronted with two sets of problems, right? From my stakeholders, the key problem was the response time is slow, the accuracy and the solutions that we get is not that great. And my intrinsic problem, which was coming directly from my team, is that we're quite a back-end operations. Um, Nobody cares about what we do. The recognition, the acknowledgement for the work that we do is really, really low. That was one. And second is the work-life balance is really disrupted because there's no process discipline. Everybody wants everything to be done in a jiffy, overnight. There are too many exceptions, too many ad hoc work that comes our way. And when I looked at it, these were two different sets of voices for me, very two different sets of problem statements. But the underlying theme is that I had to enable my team to be able to deliver, to match the expectations of our stakeholders and employees, and at the same time set that, create that visibility for this team's work, without which, it's like a backbone of the organization that my team does. So without which probably the organization will crumble down in a few days' time. And that's when I came up with an acronym that I'm going to use here. It's called LIVE. It's an initiative that took birth about 2.5 years ago. LIVE stands for learning, innovation, voice of customer, for us it is voice of our employees, and employee engagement plus branding. And these are weekly interventions. We do it in rotation. So every week, every 1 week, once a week in the month, we have this dedicated time for my entire team, which is about 80 to 100 people, who are focused on learning. And in that learning space, we do include topics on technical aspect of our function, but also behavioral aspects, the softer aspects, how we can really read the minds of our employees and then be able to deliver to them. In innovation, I realized that we were doing a lot of work-life balance was being disrupted because we were still doing processes in the legacy with the legacy mindset. Nobody questioned why we were doing certain steps. Nobody questioned why we are doing a particular activity. Nobody bothered about that if you are doing this manual work, this arduous work, is there a different way of doing it? So I think innovation was more about a mind shift to say, instead of thinking about yourselves as a transactional team, how about you think of yourselves as strategic partners of the organization, strategic partners of our BUs, businesses, and then think of how you can bring efficiency in your ways of working. And that was more about empowering them to be able to identify their pain areas and also suggest or recommend solutions that can remove those pain areas. V stands for voice of customer. Every query that we were closing for employees, um, we were being rated on it. And even if the score was dissatisfaction, yes, we became sad after receiving that, but we didn't do anything about it. So voice of customer was mostly about how we analyze and assess what our employees are saying about our services and how we can then further improvise it through innovation or through efficient ways of working. E is the employee engagement part. That's something which is again very, very close to my heart, because this is what combined us or brought us together, unified us as one single team, and not boxed us into different functional verticals. And this really helped because quite a few times when we receive employee issues or requests from the businesses, it cuts across multiple functions. It's just not one vertical problem. So when we unify the team together, either through fun or team building or just bringing their whole aspirations together and combining it, making it as a one single powerful goal, I think the results that we have seen have been spectacular. I don't want to go into too many matrices, but just to give you a little bit of a color on the spectrum of change that we have been able to see, the employee satisfaction score that we used to have in 40s, under 40s in 2022, has gone up to 98% as of yesterday when I was checking it. And our turnaround time, which hovered around 50%, 60%. Now we are consistently closing our tickets within 98%. And I think besides the matrices, if you just want to know a little more about this model, we have recently posted it on my LinkedIn profile, which is Richa Verma Agrawal, and you can read a little more about it. There are voices directly coming from the teams who have experienced it, and also our partners who have really seen the transition coming about. But I think creativity is more about combining all your problem statements together and then thinking of how you're going to, in a very structured and a uniform way, you're going to attack all of them together. Another trait that I want to talk about is balancing. I think balancing at an individual level could mean work-life balance, balancing your personal and professional conflicts. As a leader, balancing could also mean how you deal with different individuals differently, how you manage different situations differently, because it's no longer the same course for multiple horses. So you really have to keep adapting your style of leadership to really manage different situations, different individuals, different variable work requirements also, in a very, very effective manner. And I think if I look at it from an organizational perspective, balancing is also about how you want to strike a balance between your organization's aspirations and growth roadmap with social responsibility. And I think that's where, when we think of trying to create a balance and trying to create a harmony between too many variables around it, I think it has also helped us as leaders in Flipkart to think more in terms of parity and equity, to be able to bring all our employees, irrespective of their grades or designations, irrespective of which regions they belong to, irrespective of what kind of work they are doing, at an equal platform. And I think that has really helped us create a very deep sense of belonging, a very deep sense of pride for who we are as Flipsters. With that, I'm going to request to run a video that further kind of brings all these themes together, but mostly say that, get that free space for yourself and also give that free space to your employees, your teams, where they can be themselves. So may I request you to run that video, please?
There's something definitely wrong with me, or maybe I have an illness, and that's what exactly what I was thinking throughout my growing up years. And it was hard growing up being gay in a traditional joint family, even if it was in a metro city. Also, India in 1980s and 90s was very different, right? It was pre-internet, it was pre-mobile phones, and conversations about sexuality, gender identity, self-expression, these weren't really on the table, or these weren't really the topics of discussions, right? So how do you know better? How do you know more? And जब खुद को ही नहीं समझ में आ रहा था तो बाकियों को तो क्या समझाते, क्या बात करते? And that's exactly the struggle that I think most of us growing up gay at that time had to face. A lot of people are very nostalgic about their school days and what a good time it was. But for me, it wasn't, because it brings back a lot of memories of bullying and a lot of self-correction that I had to do to not get bullied. Fake my interest in sports, fake my interest in girls, just so that I don't stand out. And a large part of my growing up in school was essentially not to stand out. I came out of my family and close friends more than a decade ago. Until then, I had to live under a constant shadow of dual identity, with the constant fear of being found out and losing the control of my own narrative and the repercussions that I thought might follow if I were found out. Thank you.
Do you remember, Nishant, what your family said to you at the time?
Of course, I think everybody does. And they just said, we love you and nothing changes. You're still our son, friend, and it just, things will continue to be the same they are, and you'll be loved and respected. And this doesn't change much. This doesn't change anything. It still took me a rather long time to come out at work, and whenever I considered it, I would counter myself to say that what's the need? Why do people at work need to know about it? But then I also realized it was largely coming in from fear of repercussions. What if my career gets affected because of that? What if people